The Dominion fleet moved through the void like a plague of metal locusts, their sleek obsidian vessels cutting through space with the efficiency of 1 billion conquered worlds behind them. For 3 millennia, they had swept across the galaxy unopposed, each civilization falling before their advance like wheat before a scythe. Their technology was supreme, their tactics flawless, their warriors bred for nothing but victory. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of the flagship Inevitable, his forearms clasped behind his elongated frame as he studied the tactical display. The next target system glowed amber on the holographic projection, a small cluster of 9 planets orbiting a yellow star. The inhabitants called it Sol, though soon it would bear a Dominion designation like all the others. "Initial scans complete, Commander," his lieutenant reported, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Primitive species barely achieved faster than light travel within the last century. Nuclear weapons, basic energy shields, standard plasma weaponry. Classification, minimal threat. Vex's lipless mouth curved in what his species considered a smile. Another easy conquest. The broadcasts they had intercepted suggested these humans, as they called themselves, were still fractured into competing nations, despite their ventures into space. Divided prey always fell fastest. "Deploy the standard formation," Vex commanded. "Send the surrender terms on all frequencies. Give them 1 rotation of their planet to comply." The message went out in perfect translation. The same ultimatum that had broken 10,000 civilizations before. Submit to the Dominion. Surrender all weapons, accept governance, and live as subjects. Resist and face annihilation. The response came faster than expected. A single transmission from a vessel that had appeared at the edge of the system, having dropped out of hyperspace with surprising precision. The ship itself was ugly by Dominion standards, a blocky amalgamation of armor plates and weapon batteries that looked like it had been assembled by a species that valued function over form. "This is Captain James Morrison of the Earth Alliance vessel Defiant. We have received your terms and respectfully decline. You are ordered to withdraw from human space immediately or face the consequences." Laughter rippled through the bridge. 1 ship. The humans had sent 1 ship against a fleet of 500. Vex almost felt insulted by the gesture. "Destroy it," he ordered casually. "All ships continue to Earth." 100 plasma beams lanced out simultaneously, enough concentrated energy to vaporize a small moon. They struck the human vessel dead center, creating a bloom of light that should have marked another insignificant victory. When the light faded, the Defiant remained. The laughter on the bridge died. Vex leaned forward, his secondary eyes narrowing as he studied the readings. The human ship's shields had not just held, they had absorbed the energy entirely. "Again," Vex commanded, his voice carrying the first hint of uncertainty in decades. All weapons concentrated fire. The barrage that followed would have cracked a planet's crust. Missiles, plasma beams, gravitational distortion waves, everything the Dominion had perfected over 3,000 years of conquest. The human ship weathered it all, its unusual shields flaring with each impact but never failing. Then the Defiant returned fire. A single projectile launched from its forward battery, moving at a significant fraction of light speed. Vex's tactical officer barely had time to report its approach before it struck the destroyer Conquest amidships. The Dominion vessel did not explode. It simply ceased to exist, converted to constituent atoms in an instant. "What was that weapon?" Vex demanded. "Unknown, Commander. Our sensors cannot identify the technology." Another projectile launched, then another. 2 more Dominion ships vanished. The fleet began evasive maneuvers, but the human weapons seemed to track with impossible accuracy, ignoring all countermeasures. Captain Morrison's voice crackled across the communication channel again, calm and steady. "Commander, you're probably wondering why your sensors can't read our weapons. It's quite simple, really. While your species was perfecting energy weapons, we were getting creative with kinetic ones. That projectile that just eliminated your destroyer, that's a grain of sand accelerated to 90% the speed of light. We learned long ago that at sufficient velocity, mass becomes academic." Vex felt something he had not experienced in centuries: doubt. "All ships engage at close range. Their primitive vessel cannot match our maneuverability." The Dominion fleet surged forward, hundreds of vessels moving in perfect coordination. The Defiant held position waiting. At optimal range, Vex prepared to give the order to unleash everything they had. That's when the rest of the human fleet arrived. They dropped out of hyperspace in perfect synchronization. Not the handful of ships Vex might have expected from a primitive species, but thousands. They were all built like the Defiant, ugly and functional, bristling with weapons that defied conventional classification. But it was not their numbers that made Vex's heart sink. It was their formation. These humans flew with a coordination that spoke of extensive combat experience, not against each other but against something else. They moved like predators who had fought bigger predators and won. Captain Morrison spoke again. You see, Commander, you made the same mistake every would-be conqueror makes about humanity. You looked at our divided nations, our internal conflicts, and thought we were weak. What you failed to understand is that we've been practicing warfare for our entire existence. Every generation, every culture, constantly refining the art of combat. And when threatened from outside, we don't fracture, we unite. The human fleet began to advance, their formation shifting into something the Dominion tactical computers couldn't quite categorize. It was chaos and order simultaneously, each ship moving independently while maintaining perfect strategic positioning. Commander, Morrison continued, we intercepted your transmissions to the previous worlds you conquered. We know your tactics, your weapons, your weaknesses. We've had 50 years to prepare since we detected your approach to our sector. 50 years to reverse engineer captured technology, to innovate, to build. Did you really think a species that split the atom just to see what would happen would face extinction quietly? Vex watched his tactical display in growing horror as human ships began appearing throughout the system. Not just military vessels, but converted cargo haulers, mining ships, even what appeared to be recreational vessels welded with weapons. The entire species had mobilized. We offer you the same choice you gave us, Morrison said. Surrender and withdraw or face annihilation. You have one rotation of our planet to comply. For the first time in 3 millennia, the Dominion fleet held position, uncertain. They had conquered worlds with billions of inhabitants, defeated civilizations that spanned dozens of star systems, faced down technologies that bordered on magic. But they had never faced anything like this, a species that had turned warfare into an art form and survival into a science. Vex looked at his tactical display, calculating odds. The humans had not just matched Dominion technology, they had circumvented it entirely, finding solutions his species had never considered. Those kinetic weapons alone could devastate his fleet, and who knew what other innovations they had developed. Commander, his lieutenant whispered, what are your orders? Vex thought of the Empire, of 3,000 years of unbroken victories, of the shame that would come with being the first to retreat. Then he thought of the alternative, of his fleet reduced to scattered atoms by an enemy that had spent its entire existence perfecting the art of war. Signal the retreat, he said quietly. All ships fall back to Dominion space. As the fleet turned to leave, one final transmission came from the Defiant. Commander Vex, Morrison said. Spread the word to your empire and anyone else who might be listening. Humanity stands ready. We don't seek conflict, but we've been preparing for it since we first looked up at the stars and wondered who else might be out there. This is our space. These are our worlds, and we will defend them. The Dominion fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving human space unconquered and unconquerable. In the years that followed, the story spread throughout the galaxy, a warning to any who might threaten the small blue world and its warrior inhabitants. The humans had not conquered other worlds like the Dominion. They had not needed to. They had perfected something far more dangerous, the ability to prevent anyone from conquering them. Back on Earth, children continued to play, scientists continued to discover, and soldiers continued to train. The galaxy had learned what humanity had always known, that the most dangerous warrior is not the one who seeks battle, but the one who is always prepared for it. The Dominion never returned to human space. Neither did anyone else with hostile intentions. The humans, for their part, began to slowly explore the galaxy, not as conquerors but as traders, scientists, and occasionally peacekeepers. They shared their technology freely, their defensive innovations protecting dozens of younger civilizations from would-be conquerors. And in the great archives of the Galactic Council, established after humanity's emergence onto the cosmic stage, one phrase was inscribed as a warning to future generations. They conquered worlds with ease, until a human warship blocked their path. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Some species were born to conquer. Others were born to explore.